so much for tuning in once again. If it's your first time, welcome, and if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. So today is the 5th of February and it's a Monday. So this is the month of love. You know, it's gonna be Valentine's Day on the 14th. People have already made plans, but for some of us that don't have plans, for some of us that don't have partners, for some of us that won't be celebrating the day, well, I don't even celebrate it either way. I just wanted to film a short video just to have a chat with you. I wanted to give it the title, Single and Content. You know, I think that would resonate with a lot of people that are single right now and they're very content in their singleness. Or those that are single but they're still struggling a bit, and they are on their way to being content in their singleness. Because, you know, during the time of waiting, during the time of being single, it can be very tedious, it can be very discouraging because you don't know how long you're going to be single for. So as I said, I don't want to make the video very long. I want to make it as short as possible. I'm going to start by talking about a prophecy that I received in 2001. So I grew up in church. So I've been born again. Well, my mom has been born again for a very long time. I think she got born again when she was still 16 or something. So we just grew up going to church with her, and then once we began to understand what it was all about, then, you know, each of us then just gave our lives to God and we started on our own journey. But let me not make the story very long. So this one time, I think it was in 2001, I was 16. I went to this crusade with my mother, and then the man of God that was preaching on that day, he called me and my mom to the front, and he started prophesying. It was all good. He was saying all these wonderful things, you know, how God is going to use us both to preach and to pray for people, and we're going to both be in full-time ministry and all of that. And it was just so nice to hear all of those things. For me as a 16-year-old, you know, I really love the Lord. I think even growing up, my cousins would tease me and they would say things like, wena umama Ruti. Like, you know, because I was just so deep into it and everything. So at that crusade, the man of God was prophesying. He said all those things, you know, about me and my mom. We're going to be in ministry. We're going to preach the word of God. We're going to be used by God in a mighty way and all of that. So that type of prophecy is really nice and all of that. But once he said all of those things, he then came to me and he said, yes, it's going to happen like that. God is going to use you, you know, in a very special way to preach the word, to do all these other things, to touch people's lives. But then he said to me, the one thing that I'm seeing is that you're going to have a lot of challenges in relationships. I can't say everything that he said verbatim. I don't remember like word for word what he said, but he said that, and then he said, you know, that I really need to be careful because relationships were going to be my downfall. I remember just saying to him, no, that's not going to happen, because I'm a very straightforward person. I'm focused on God. Like I was a 16-year-old. I was 16, but I was just so deep into it. I'm like, I'm focused on God. I'm not interested in boys and all of that, so I'm going to be fine. There's no need to worry about that. And he was just like, no, it's okay. It's fine. And then he prayed for me and my mom, and then we left it at that. Fast forward, 2000 and I'm just trying to remember. I should have written all these things down. 2000 and okay, let's go to 2005. 2005, because I did my matric in 2002. 2003, I went to Star Schools at Vets to upgrade my matric, and then 2005, I decided, what did I skip? 2002, I did matric. 2003, I went and upgraded my symbols. Yeah, my symbols. Yeah, my matric. 2004, I was just working. Yeah, in Joburg, I was working. Okay. 2004, I was working as a backing vocalist for these other gospel singers and all of that. 2005, I decided to go back to school full time. I went back, I wore my uniform again. I went back to matric. That's when a lot of things started happening, really, because I remember in 2005, I was in a relationship with someone who was also at the same school. We were in the same class and all of that. Some of the things I'm not going to talk about. I feel like some of the things are so deep that I will have the grace to talk about them some other time. I'm just going to touch on a few things just to make the video a bit shorter as well. So I was in a relationship at that time, but I remember, I think it was in July or something, 2015. This was a long time ago. Ooh, I'm old. This was a long time ago. So at some point in 2005, I remember, God help me. I remember I got raped in 2005. And then after that incident, it was so traumatic for me. After that incident, that's when I started having anxiety attacks, and I didn't know what they were. I just remember when I first had those attacks, my parents then rushed me to a clinic in town, and the doctor then confirmed, no, it's panic attacks. And then he just started educating me, like when this happens, this is what you do and all of that stuff. I'm talking about things that I wasn't planning to talk about because now they're gonna make the video very long. Anyway, I just wanna say that I think after the rape incident, my life just took another turn. I will go deeper into it in another video, like a specific video about what happens when you experience trauma, especially sexual trauma and all of that. But anyway, 2005, that happened. And then it just changed my life in a way that I'm not even able to talk about right now, but we will talk about it in another video. 2006, okay, so I was back in high school. I did very well. I got my distinctions and all of that. I went to Wits University. I studied there. But that's when my life really took a turn, because then I became a very depressed person, very anxious. Now I remember that's where the depression started. Anyway, 2006, 2007. So for me, relationships started being very, very difficult. That's I started having like very unhealthy relationships with men, but we'll talk about that some other time. I just want to try and summarize it as much as I can. So 2006, 2007, so now it's just relationship after relationship. I meet someone, I try to explain to them I'm a born-again Christian, I can't have sex, and then they try and understand in the beginning, and then as time goes on, they're like, nah, it's not gonna work, like we really need to do something about it. And that's when I realized, but it's really hard or difficult or even impossible to find someone who's willing to remain celibate in a relationship. Yes, I understand, you get into a relationship with someone who's already had sex, they have that experience, and you also have had that experience. So now they find it very difficult to remain celibate, and you also just give in because you're thinking, will I ever find someone who's willing to wait? Right? So it got to be very difficult, it got to be very depressing and all of that, but I just continued. I've always believed, no, I will find someone who is willing to wait, but I've never I've never been in a relationship really with someone who was willing to wait, you know. And I was thinking about something. I was listening to something in the morning, and this person said, you know what, nowadays in the Christian community, people believe different things. People believe different things. So I thought about it. I was like, you know, there are some people that say things like, sorry, as long as we are planning to get married, God can see that we are going to get married, so it's okay to, you know, be sexually intimate and all of that, which is not true. I don't think it's true at all. Because then we can say, yeah, God knows that we want to get married, and then it doesn't work out, and then you're going to do the same thing with the next person and all of that and all of that. So it's for me, it's been like that. It's been, and I have a lot of scars, you know, to show for the disobedience, because in every relationship that I got into, God would speak to me. God would say to me, but Caroline, you know, this is not what I want for you. I've spoken to you about, you know, your future. I've spoken to you about your future marriage, your future partner and all of that. So you know this is wrong, but you're doing it anyway. So I have a lot of scars to show for that. I have a lot of things that I experienced in those relationships that really kind of tried to mess up my life. I will make a full video about those things, the abusive relationship, the rape. I think I've already mentioned that. I'll talk about you know, all these other experiences that I've had, just to show like how you can mess up your life by just being disobedient to God, by just not listening to God when he speaks to you about certain things. So, right, yeah, I wanted to give it, I wanted to talk about it like year after year after year after year, everything that I experienced, but it looks like I'm not gonna do that. So, this morning I was reading the story of Isaac, you know. I was reading the story of Isaac, and then I was thinking about how the Lord guided Abraham's servant in choosing Rebecca as a wife for Isaac. And the reason I was thinking about that one is because people tend to say things like, there's no such thing as the one. Because if there's the one, and then the one gets hit by a bus and they die, does that mean now you're going to be single for the rest of your life because the one is dead? Which I think is just funny. Anyway, I believe God can guide a person in choosing the right person. God can nudge a person to say that is the right person for you, because he knows everything about us. He knows our heart's desires. He knows the plans he has for us. He knows where we are going. So he can choose the perfect partner for you. I hear lately people say things like, God is the perfect matchmaker, which I think is true, because he knows us. He knows all of us. So you're praying, you have a list of things that you have, like these are the qualities that I want my future spouse to have. You name all those things and stuff. God is the one that can match you with the perfect person. And by perfect, I don't mean like someone who doesn't have flaws, because we all do have flaws. I just mean someone who's perfect for you. So I went through all of these things. But just to cut it short, I remember in 2022, I got into a relationship, which I can say that was the last relationship that I was in 2022. I got into a relationship with this person. I had not seen this person in a very long time. Then he just came back into my life somehow. So we spoke on the phone. He had called a friend of mine, and then this friend of mine told him, we are actually at Kara's house. Her dad passed away, so today was the funeral. We were burying her dad. And then he was like, no, can I please speak to her? Then he spoke to me for a few minutes. We exchanged numbers. And the weekend after that, he asked me out on a date. We went out on our first date. this one requires a video on its own. So I just want to talk about I don't like calling people counterfeits, but you know what I mean, right? You know, this is the person that you are believing God for. This is the person that God has promised you, right? They have all these qualities. And then someone comes and they look exactly like what you've been asking God for. They look like what God has promised you. So this was the case. This was the case. So this man is a man of God. He's a pastor. He preaches the word. He's been a pastor forever. Well, not forever, you know what I mean. I've known this person since I was, I think, 15 or 16, and he was a pastor even at the time. And then we didn't see each other for all these years, for like 20 years or something. He's a pastor. He's a great guy. He's humble. He's loving. He's everything. We talk, and then, well, I told him I'm not ready for this because I have just gotten out of a relationship. I had just gotten out of a very abusive relationship, a very toxic relationship. I was still very angry. I had a lot of anger, a lot of rage. I was too emotional. It was just not good for me to jump into another relationship. I explained that to him, but he was like, no, it's fine, because I also just lost my wife a few months ago, so I also still need to heal. We'll heal together. Bad idea. Very bad idea. Anyway, we went ahead, we got into the relationship. I reluctantly agreed. We got into the relationship, but I realized, like, in the relationship, what happened was, because my heart wasn't open to love anyone. I was still hurting. I was still, the wound was still very fresh. It was about a month or two after I had gotten out of the abusive relationship. So I'm just gonna give a little bit of what was happening. So basically, I wasn't ready. I wasn't affectionate at all. When he tried to touch me, I would cringe. I hated a lot of things about him. He was a very nice person. But I found that I got irritated by a lot of things. At some point, I got even irritated by the way he laughed. By the way he chewed his food. I would get irritated, and I realized, no, I shouldn't be in a relationship at all. I shouldn't be in a relationship. But it's fine. I just continued. It went on for months and months and months and months. He was so kind, you know. Just the one thing that I didn't like was the fact that he wanted to be intimate sexually, and I didn't want that. I didn't want that at all. And then after some time, I gave in. And after I gave in, I was so angry with myself for doing that, because I knew God had called me, when he got me out of that relationship, had called me to celibacy. Like, you need to be celibate, you need to relax, you need to, you know, allow me to work on you, you need to heal, and all of those things. But I went ahead and I got into a relationship. So then I gave in, I became intimate with him, and I hated him for that. I hated myself for that, you know. But then I explained to him, I can't do this. Let's do this the right way, you know. And it's like, no, cool. Let's wait until we get married to continue, you know, being intimate and all of that stuff. So then everything was fine. But one of the things that I noticed was that if he really wanted to force it to happen and I said no, he would get angry and he would ghost me for like 3 days and whatever. And I was like, no, this is childish and stuff. And you know, another thing is, when someone is a pastor or a man of God, or you know, someone who's grown spiritually, you're thinking they should be very good at this whole sex before marriage thing. They should understand that we need to wait until we get married to do this thing. But then if it's someone like that, you're thinking, then it's bad. It's bad. It's bad. If he cannot do it, then it's bad. Then what about just someone who's, yeah. Anyway, fast forward, I remember in August yeah, in August. Then just one day I text him. We used to text a lot. We used to talk a lot over the phone. I text him, hi, la la la. And then he says to me, listen, this thing is not working. I think we should stop it. I'm like, it was working yesterday. What do you mean? He's like, no, it's not working. We should just accept the fact that we don't have a relationship. And I just knew when someone says, we just need to accept the fact that we don't have a relationship, it's because we're not having sex. I'm like, no, do you need some time? I understand you're going through a lot and blah, blah, blah. Like, I was willing to beg him not to leave me. And he said, no, it's fine. I think let's just leave it. It's not working. I was so heartbroken. But I told myself, I'll get over it. It's fine. I'll get over it. It's August, November, December. I go to a wedding. I'm talking to a friend of mine, the friend that knew him, the friend that he had called, and we ended up talking on the phone on my dad's funeral, at my dad's funeral. So friend, we are at the wedding. The friend says to me, how, did you know that so-and-so was getting married in October? He was paying lobola for someone else. I'm like, that's not possible. He says, yeah, it is possible. He was paying lobola for someone. That's exactly 2 months after he dumped me. 2 months after he dumped me, he paid lobola for someone else. I couldn't believe it. I got home, I told my little sister, I'm like, he paid lobola for someone 2 months after he dumped me. My sister was furious. It's like, please give me his number now. I need to text him now. I'm like, no, it's fine. I'll get over it. So I went to my room, I cried, I slept. And at this time, I think my heart was so broken. Like, it was so broken. And that's when I said, but Father, like, what do you want me to do? What do I do? What do I do? And only now, it's about 1.5, 2 years later, God also showed me where I was wrong. He also showed me where I was wrong. He's like, yes, the guy was wrong, but you were also wrong. You were not fully into him. You knew he wasn't the one. You really, really knew. But you just wanted him to be. You just wanted him to be. You were not attracted to him, all these other things. And you just forced things to be. Sometimes we force things and we're the ones that get hurt at the end, and we want to blame other people. So I knew he wasn't the one. I knew I didn't have the peace. I didn't have the peace at all. I didn't have the peace of God at all. I knew, Anyway, I cried, and then after that I sat down and I spoke to God, and I was like, Lord, what do you want me to do? And God confirmed to me, I want you to be celibate. I want you to sit down. I want you to sit down, to relax. Stop trying to get a man. Stop. And they will come to you, but just don't. I need you. I need your attention. I need to work on you. I need to work with you. And about a day later, just a day actually, I was at home, I was in my room, I was just not sad anymore because God had spoken to me. He had confirmed to me, you just need to relax, just be still. I'm doing something and you need to stop. You need to stop and relax and allow me to do what I'm doing. And when the time is right, I will make it happen. So that day, I'm alone. No, I wasn't alone I was with my son. My son was sleeping. It was at night. I'm just sitting there. That day, my senior pastor came. He's like a very close family friend. He came. He's a very wise man of God, like a very wise man of God. He came and then he sat with me, and it was very awkward because I knew he had brought a message for me. I knew he wanted to say something to me. So we spoke, how are you? I'm fine, and blah. And then he says to me, listen, God says you must stop. God says you must stop having sex. That was awkward. When someone is like your dad and you respect them so much, and now you have to talk about sex and stuff. God says you must stop, and he's doing something. He's working on something, and he needs you to stop and just focus on other things. focus on other things and just bury yourself in the word and prayer, and just walk with God in your life. And he's doing something, and when the time is right, he'll make it happen. So here he is. He's saying everything that God said to me, I think the previous day. It's just like, oh my God, you are so good. So I say to him, no, it's fine. It's fine. He spoke to me about it, and this is a confirmation. Thank you, Lord. And I'm like, no, I'll do this. I'm going to be celibate. I'm not going to allow any man in my life anymore until my husband comes. I can do this. And he says to me, but you really need to be very careful. You're young, and men will come, and there'll be temptations and everything. I'm like, I got this. I can do this. Like when you're heartbroken and you're like, I don't even want to see a man in my life. That's where I was. So I thought I was going to do it by my own strength, because of how hurt I was, how heartbroken I was. So he just said, you need to pray, you need to ask God to help you, in this journey and everything. So that's when my celibacy journey started. It was the beginning of 2022. And it went well. A few months it went well, and then it would come to a point where I'd feel very lonely, and I would just want to have someone to just call me, someone I can call, someone I can talk to and everything. Temptations were there. But one thing I noticed during the time, God started hiding me, like he hid me, to a point where it's like people stopped seeing me. People were not seeing me anymore. Men were not seeing me at some point. But God was working on me. I spent a lot of time in prayer and fasting. I had these two pastors that I was praying with. We used to pray together, fast together. I can't say they're my friends. They're just people that God really put me closer to during that time, and I really needed that. So I would spend a lot of time with them, just in the word, in prayer, in fasting. We used to just go and pray for other people. I remember this one time we were going to pray at another house, and I was going with them, and I looked at everyone, and I was the only young person there. I was like, is this what my life has come to? I'm like the only young person here. Young people are out there having fun, and I'm just going around with old men and old women praying and praying for people. But it was good for me. I needed that, and that's when my relationship with God grew stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And then, but there were still times when, temptations would be there, like people would come, exes would come back and all of that, but God would remind me, remember I'm doing something, and I would wait. And then come 2023, that was last year. So last year I started working. So I came to Joburg, I started working in August, and it was like slowly God was removing the veil, because he had hidden me, but now it's like slowly he was removing it. And then at some point I remember, now like I had people just coming in like this. I used to joke about it to myself because I didn't have friends, still don't. I used to joke about it and say things like, it's like it's raining men, like it's raining and men are just like, coming and stuff. But God would still remind me, don't. I told you I'm doing something, don't. Just wait. The one instant that I remember was someone that I had known for over a decade. I've known this person from primary. He has been a very good friend of mine. When I had my first child, after the breakup with my child's father, he was there for me. After the breakup with my second child, he was there for me. Like, he had been so gentle, and he was so kind, and he was so understanding. He never wanted sex. He was just there. Like, he opened up his home for us because he was just alone. I'd go there with my child and spend time there, spend days there when I was depressed and everything. It would be like, just come. You can spend a week, you can spend 2 weeks, you can spend however long you want. And he would just open up his home for us and would be there and feel at home, and he wouldn't try anything. The only issue, he wanted a relationship. He actually mentioned, I don't even want a relationship with you. I've always wanted a relationship with you. The only thing that I want now, I just want to marry you. You know, and it was so tempting. Oh my goodness, he's such a good guy. And the only thing was that he's not born again. I'm not going to mention any churches. He goes to some other church, and he is so committed to that church. Like, he is so committed to that church. And that for me was like, no, I know the person that I'm going to marry is born again. The person that I'm going to marry is, you know, someone who's, I just know, God has told me, you know. So for the fact that he's not born again, it's a no-no. And I spoke to one pastor about it once, and as soon as I said, but he's not born again, he said no. He said it's a no. And he didn't entertain it. He didn't even go any further. He said it's a no. And I remember also telling my mom, I'm like, Ma, remember, you know, when my parents got married, my dad was going to a different church. So it's the same church that this guy goes to. So I tell my mom, like, yo, we have so much in common, me and you. So I'm like, this guy goes to this church. He's such a lovely guy. I would marry him if he was born again, but he's not born again. My mom said, just wait. Just wait. Your husband will come, you know? So, you know, like, things like that will happen when you're single. But I just want to encourage you to wait. Wait. It's really not easy, but wait. You know, there are times where I look at other couples, I look at my friends, you know, with their husbands, with their boyfriends, and I'm like, oh, it would be so nice to have a boyfriend and everything. And then I remind myself, you just wait. You just wait. So some of us have been called to marriages that are just, yeah, that I just, I don't know how to explain it, but you just know that your love story has to be written by God. Your love story has to be written by God. I always remind myself, you know what, I'd be married right now if I wanted to be married. I'd be married to just anyone. But I refuse. I refuse because I know the promise that God has given me is so beautiful. It's much bigger. And then you get those days when you're like, what if I'm just wasting time? What if the person that God has told me about doesn't even really exist? Hey, I get those and I'm just like, nope, I will wait. I will wait. I'm turning 39 this year, but I still believe that God will make it happen at the right time. After that breakup, when I prayed, I said, God, I surrender. I surrender my desires. I surrender my will. I surrender everything unto you. I said to him, it's fine. You will bring him when you do, and I will wait. And it's not an easy thing. It's not a walk in the park. It's not an easy thing. But we wait either way. We pray. We continue praying. We continue waiting. We continue just on those days when you feel like, I can't, maybe I'm just wasting time, and there are other options and all of that. Just remind yourself. But the promise of God for my life is much more beautiful, much more bigger, you know. So I'm already on 34 minutes. I'm going to wrap it up quickly. I just want to say, on the 14th, I'll be at work. I'm gonna work. I'm gonna knock off at 6. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna eat and sleep, as I do every day. I just want to encourage everyone, just pray for the grace, pray for the strength to remain content in your singleness. If God has promised you something, hold on to it. Hold on to it. If you heard it from him, he doesn't lie. He's not a son of man that he should lie. He doesn't lie. He will make it happen when the time is right. So I just want to encourage you in your singleness. Enjoy this life. Enjoy. And this is such a beautiful time to serve. Such a beautiful time to do anything that you want to do. I understand some of us are much older now. I have those, like, I really just see myself in my house, with my husband and our children, because I believe, like, at this age I will probably, if not definitely, get married to someone who already has kids. So I see myself with my husband and our children, and it's going to be so beautiful and all of that. I believe that, and I see it, I perceive it, so I have no doubt. Like even those moments when I feel like maybe it will not happen, then I remind myself, no, I've seen it. Like I've seen it. I see it, especially because God has said it, it will happen. So you'll have those moments where you're like, I should be in my house right now. I should be in my house right now with my children and my husband, but I'm not. But I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. I'm not gonna give up. It's a journey, and on this journey I'm with God. I'm not alone. So for those of us that have surrendered everything to God and we've said, Lord, here I am, use me as an instrument of your gospel. Just work, just continue working, just continue serving, just give your life over to God. Let him live through you, and the rest he will take care of. And one day when you're not even thinking about it, it'll happen. And it'll happen. It'll happen. So I believe that with all my heart. I believe it'll happen. So in this month of love, love God. In this month of love, love others. In this month of love, love yourself. Love your family. Love everyone around you. Just give love. Just give love and receive love. And receive love. God is such a good God. Lastly, before I forget, I would also get, these thoughts that maybe I've messed up God's promise for my life. Maybe I've messed up God's plan for my life by getting into other relationships and getting hurt and going through this and going through that. Maybe he decided, no, I'm not giving you that person anymore. I'm not giving you that man that you will be in ministry with and serve God with and preach all over the world with. I'm not giving you that anymore because you messed it up. No, he's not a God like that. He's a really loving God. He's a really good God. He forgives us. When you repent, when you come to him and you say, Lord, I've sinned against you and I repent, I surrender, I'm starting afresh with you. He gives us another chance. He gives us another chance. So don't ever feel like you have messed up so bad that you don't deserve anything good anymore, because that is what will lead you to settling. And when you settle, the enemy will use that opportunity to mess up your life in a very, very, very messed up way. And that is what has happened in my life. I got to a point where I started, thinking I don't deserve love anymore. So I started settling. Because I just didn't feel like I deserved to be loved. But right now, God is working on me in such a way that he's reminding me, look, the past is in the past. You deserve to be loved, and you can still believe, you had better believe that I have someone for you who will love you in a way you've never been loved. I write songs a lot. I have a lot of songs that I've written. I always say things like, I've never been able to write a love song. Things like, yeah, you love me in such a special way and wara wara, because I've never experienced that type of love. But God has promised me one day you will experience that type of love. That type of love, the perfect love. So please, guys, let's wait for that love. That love, that pure love, that godly love. It will happen. It will happen. It will happen. God is such a faithful God. It will happen. It will happen. So thank you so much for taking the time. We are on almost 40 minutes. I didn't want it to be this long, but it's fine. I just wanted to give this message unto you, and just to say, be single and secure. Be single and content. Be single and love it. Be single and happy. Just do everything that you want to do right now in the Lord. And when the time is right, your person will come. Be the right person right now before that person comes. Woo! Yo, thank you so much for listening. I will see you in the next video. But please, please, please take a moment to just click on the subscribe button and the notification bell and just like the video. And thank you so much for your support. Thank you for your time. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for listening to me, and have a lovely day. Have a lovely month. Let the month of love be good to you. I will see you in the next video.